Hi, welcome to What I Think. Okay, so today I want to talk about superpowers. But before I do that, I'd like to direct your attention to my hair. So I got my hair cut in the summer, right? And what I didn't realize, or I knew, but I guess I forgot, is that when you have short hair, you have to get it cut like every 6 weeks. So I got my hair cut in mid-July, and the hairdresser said, "Oh, I don't have another appointment for you until end of October." And I was like, no problem. But here I am with the, mid grow out thing. And waiting till the end of October. And you may be like, why didn't you just go somewhere else to get it cut? I could, but I put myself in this dilemma of like, do I tolerate and go through this just to get back to like this being mid grow out hair, just to get back to a cut that I don't need to get cut that often? Or do I deal with going to the hairdresser every 6 weeks and paying all the money it costs to maintain a short haircut? And obviously, I decided to just deal with the mid phase. But this actually relates to my superpower. My superpower, one of them, is spontaneity. Spontaneity is one of the wonderful side effects of having a disorder called ADHD. I was diagnosed with ADHD about 2 years ago. And the reason I went and got testing myself, paid for it myself, I got a recommendation from my doctor, and I went and met with this guy who did these hours of testing with me, including an educational component so I could assess so he could assess my strengths and weaknesses. And FYI, my weaknesses are like hard math. Okay, which to me is a lot of math. But anyways, so the reason is because when I was working in hospice, I was just really had no problems because it's very people oriented. It's very conversational driven. It's about helping and supporting, like that's my jam. So I really never struggled with that at all. But then I switched to research, and guess what? Now we're looking at data. We're paying attention to details. We have to keep things precise, none of which are my forte. So I was like making a lot of stupid mistakes. That's why I decided to get the ADHD assessment, which led to a diagnosis of it. It was eye-opening, mind-blowing. I was like, oh my God, so many things make sense now. I looked deeply into how ADHD presents in women, in girls and women, and it's different than how it presents in boys and men. And of course, it presents a little differently in adults than it does in children. And that's also true for a couple other things. For example, autism can present differently in girls than it does in boys, or in women than it does in men. So those things need to be considered when, getting assessed, which a good professional knows that. But anyway, okay, back to superpowers. So I honestly think, looking back on my life, that ADHD, having it, has been, oh my God, such a superpower. So one of the things ADHD people have is spontaneity and courage, because they'll do things even though they're scared of it, just because they're like, gotta do it. And so ADHDers will go for a haircut that they're like, oh, I think that's really cool. It's going to look good on me. I'm just going to go for it. It is leads you to have new experiences. And this is something that more neurotypical people don't do. Another thing is resiliency. People with ADHD tend to face adversity. Like in school was a definite challenge for me when I was a kid. Definite challenge, huge challenge. Certainly not because I wasn't smart. I am smart, but it was hard for me to stay focused. I remember when Miss Fox, my sixth grade teacher, she had these like many pieces of chalk on a thing, like she held it in her hands and she ran it across the board. It was like the kind of thing that you would put on the board to, this is my does that call the treble clef that I'm drawing in my head, that when you write notes, music notes on a board, it's the tool you would use to create the lines. And so she would take one of those, write it all across the board, and write our work for the day. We'd come in the morning. She'd be like, here's all the things you have to get done. When you get them done, you can read quietly or have free time or whatever. I never, ever, ever, ever got them done, ever. And I was always one of the only kids who never got them done because I couldn't work that way. So I had to overcome that on my own because there wasn't any support for me to figure it out. It wasn't like there was somebody out there who was like, you know what? You have ADHD. Let's give you a coping mechanism. Nope. I had to come up with it on my own. So that's how ADHDers develop resiliency. Or also tend to be creative. They also tend to be talkative. They also talk fast. They also tend to be interesting. The things they think about are a little more wacky, tend to be high energy. Also tend to hyper focus, which I do. Of course, the things I hyper focus on are not like the things that are always beneficial. It's usually like a novel or a book I'm really into, and it's like it's the only thing I'll do until I finish it. You know, like I'll read it so hard until it's done. ADHDers also have high levels of humor and tend to have high levels of empathy. Anyway, so where ADHD has definitely gotten in my way, especially academically, it has boosted my life so much in such a way that I'm not sure it would have been as good of a life if I didn't have it. Anyway, that's what I think today. Let me know what you think. And if you have any kind of neurodiversity, how it impacts you. It just doesn't have to be neurodiversity, any kind of diversity. Okay, thank you. Bye.